Hello there, kids! Welcome back to Storytime with Round Door. I'm Lancy.
And I'm Kat.
Today's episode is a special one because it's the very last story of our first whole season.
That's right, it's our season finale. I'm a little sad to see it go, but we've saved a really fun idiom story to close things out until we meet again for season 2.
Before we dive in, if you want to read along, check out our website, rounddoorstudio.com, for the companion story packs.
You will also find discussion questions, curated vocabulary, and cultural activities there.
Without further ado, today's story is an idiom called 守株待兔, or the farmer who waited for the rabbit. Let's listen together. Farmer Ah Ding had spent almost his whole life bent over in the fields. Everyone in the village remembered how, before the sky had even grown light, Ah Ding would already be heading out with his hoe over his shoulder. The soles of his feet were worn as hard as the soles of his shoes, and the calluses on his palms lay stacked layer upon layer. The neighbors would sometimes tease him.
Ah Ding, you're even skinnier than your field.
Ah Ding would just smile and go back to his work, head bowed. His field lay on the east side of the village, up against a small hillside. At the edge of the field stood a tree stump, all that was left after a big tree had been cut down a few years earlier. Its bark had long since peeled away, showing the coffee brown wood underneath. All year round, it just stood there at the edge of the field, and nobody paid it any mind. As soon as the sun climbed up, Ah Ding's clothes were quickly soaked through with sweat. Beads of it ran down from his forehead, slid along his chin, and dripped into the mud. At noon, when the sun was at its fiercest, he would sit on a rock at the edge of the field to rest for a moment, take a few bites of a cold rice ball, drink a mouthful or two of water, and then get right back to work.
The land never lies to you,
Ah Ding always said.
If you care for it, it will care for you.
The days slipped by one after another. The rice was almost ripe now, and when the wind blew across the whole field, it rose and fell gently, like a thin blanket of pale green. That afternoon, Ah Ding was crouched at the edge of the field, pulling weeds. All of a sudden, a rustling sound came from the hillside. Ah Ding lifted his head and squinted. Well, what do you know? It was a brown rabbit. That rabbit was running as fast as an arrow. Its 2 ears were blown flat against its back, its hind legs pumping and pumping, kicking up the mud beneath its feet.
Huh? Why is that rabbit running like that?
Ah Ding thought, puzzled. The rabbit seemed to have been frightened by something. It just charged forward with all its might, not even daring to look back. Just then, thud! The rabbit slammed headfirst into the tree stump at the edge of the field. It flipped head over heels, flopped limply onto the grass, and never moved again. Ah Ding's mouth fell open. He was frozen in place. Then he flung down his hoe and rushed over as fast as he could.
Oh my, why isn't this rabbit moving?
Ah Ding could hardly believe his own eyes. Ah Ding's heart was pounding, thumping even faster than that rabbit had run. He scooped the rabbit up, cradling it like a lump of gold, and forgetting all about the hoe still lying in the field, ran straight home. That night, waves of delicious smells drifted up from the stove in Ah Ding's home. He cooked the rabbit meat with ginger and scallions, drizzled on a little soy sauce, and slowly stewed it into a big steaming pot. The whole family sat down around the wooden table. The youngest child gripped the chopsticks in his chubby little hands, eating until his mouth was shiny with grease.
Daddy, this rabbit meat is so yummy,
the children chattered. Ah Ding's wife couldn't help asking too.
Dear, what's gotten into you today? How did you suddenly catch a rabbit?
So Ah Ding told the whole story of what had happened over by the tree stump, from beginning to end. The more he told it, the more pleased with himself he became. And at the end, he even patted his chest and said,
If you ask me, my luck is finally turning.
That night, Ah Ding lay in bed and simply could not fall asleep. He tossed and turned, his head full of nothing but that rabbit.
That's right,
he murmured to himself.
If I could pick up a rabbit like that every single day, how wonderful would that be? I wouldn't have to drag myself up at dawn to hoe the field, pull weeds, get rained on, and baked in the sun. I'd just sit next to that tree stump, wait for a rabbit to come crashing into it on its own, and I'd have meat to eat.
The more he thought about it, the higher the corners of his mouth curled, until at last he fell asleep with a smile on his face. The next day, the moment the sky turned light, Ading hurried out onto the field. He didn't bring his hoe, and he didn't bring his water bottle. He just hauled over a big rock and set it down beside the stump. Once he sat down, he opened his eyes wide and round and stared hard at that tree stump, hardly daring even to blink.
Rabbit, rabbit, hurry up and come,
Ading said silently to himself. The sun slowly climbed to the very middle of the sky. Ading's stomach growled with hunger, but he didn't dare leave, afraid a rabbit might come and there'd be no one to pick it up. Then the sun slowly sank toward the west. Ading's eyes ached, and his back ached too. But beside the tree stump, he hadn't seen so much as a single ant, let alone a rabbit. When night fell, Ading had no choice but to trudge home, dejected.
How strange. Why weren't there any rabbits today?
He thought.
Never mind. I'll come back and try again tomorrow.
The third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, and every single day after, Ading sat beside that tree stump. When the wind blew, he didn't take cover. When the sun beat down, he didn't leave. When it poured with rain, he just tugged his bamboo hat a little tighter and went on sitting there. When the neighbors passed by the field and saw Ading like this, they all felt that something was off. One white-bearded old man stopped and asked him, puzzled.
Adinga, why have you stopped working in your field? What are you doing sitting here?
With a mysterious little grin, Ading said to the old man,
Old sir, you don't understand. I'm waiting for a rabbit. A few days ago, a rabbit ran smack into this stump all on its own and never got up again. I'm telling you, this spot is lucky. There's bound to be a second one and a third that'll come crashing into it.
When the old man heard this, he shook his head, let out a sigh, said nothing at all, and slowly walked away. Eventually, time slipped away, one day after another. In Ading's field, the once lush green rice seedlings had no one to water them and no one to weed around them. The leaves slowly turned yellow, becoming yellower each day. The weeds, though, grew fast, sprouting up one by one beside the seedlings, taller and taller, thicker and thicker. Before long, the whole field was buried under weeds, and the ears of rice drooped their heads, dry and yellow, never to stand up straight again. But Ading never noticed any of it. His eyes were fixed only on that tree stump. Autumn arrived quietly. In the neighbors' fields, the heavy grains of rice bowed their head, and when the wind blew, they rose and fell, wave after wave, just like the sea. Every household was busy harvesting, hauling home sack after sack of grain. The smell of fresh rice drifted through the air. Only Ading's field was dark and tangled and empty, with nothing at all. That day, Ading's wife carried their youngest child out to the edge of the field. She looked at the ruined field, and then at Ading sitting there blankly beside the stump. Tears fell from her eyes, one drop after another.
Ading!
Her voice was trembling.
The rice jar at home is already empty. The children are going hungry. When are you finally going to go back to work?
Slowly, ever so slowly, Ading turned his head and looked at his own field. When he clearly saw what his field had become, it was as though someone had grabbed his heart and wrenched it hard. The pain left him unable to speak. That field he had once loved so dearly, those rice seedlings he had once watered with his own sweat, were all gone now. All that remained were the weeds, thick everywhere, and the big rock he had sat on for so very many days.
Oh, what a foolish thing I've done.
Ading's tears dripped one after another onto the dry, withered soil. From that day on, whenever the people of the village saw someone being lazy, not working, hoping to gain something without any effort, They would shake their heads and laugh.
Well now, how are you any different from Ading, who sat guarding that tree stump waiting for a rabbit?
When Ading heard this, his face went red and he lowered his head, not daring to say a word. But deep in his heart, he had finally come to understand something. We can't expect wonderful things to happen all by themselves. When we work hard, stay honest, and don't give up, good things can grow, just like a healthy field of crops. Every day after that, Ading once again put on his bamboo hat, shouldered his hoe, and walked into the field. He no longer went to watch that tree stump, waiting for a rabbit. Whew! Ading finally came to his senses. That's the story of the farmer who waited for the rabbit.
This idiom reminds us that we can't just wait for good things to happen all by themselves. We need to work hard and do our best.
How can we use this idiom? Let's look at a few examples. First, Xiaoming skipped piano practice all summer and hoped that somehow he'd become a piano master on the day of the contest. That's exactly like the farmer who waited for the rabbit.
I've got one too. My sister doesn't study before a test and just hopes the exam will happen to only ask the questions she already knows. That's the farmer who waited for the rabbit as well, leaving it all up to luck.
Well said. So whether it's studying, drawing, or helping out with chores, we have to keep our feet on the ground and put in our own effort. That's the only way to a real reward.
And that brings us to the very last story of our season. Thank you to every single one of you for keeping us company all season long.
And if you'd like to keep the fun going, please be sure to visit our website, rounddoorstudio.com, and check out our companion story pack. It's full of even more fun things waiting just for you.
See you next season.
Bye-bye!